Hey, everybody, welcome. I have my dear brother Roy here, and he's amazing. I freaking love every opportunity I get to sit down with this man and have a conversation about pretty much anything. Pretty much anything. But today I want to have a conversation mostly about the your body and the health of our bodies. You've done so much of a deep dive, deeper than almost anybody that I know, Roy, to dive into the health of our body. And some of the stuff you share with me, I'm like, dang, I've been in this whole healthy body journey for quite a while, and you take me really, really deep. So I have a bunch of questions for you today,
Sure.
and just want to chat with you and see what shows up today, and see if we can support other people with being able to have a healthy body, a healthy vessel, like you like to call it, like a
Sure.
healthy
Our healthy
vessel.
vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our healthy vessel, I say that because it's for you and me, and it's for me and my wife, but it's our channel. So, but yeah. So what you want to know basically like the story of, well, first of all, I'm a deep dive researcher. I need to know, that's how I gather information. And that's how I learn is I find out everything there is to know about the subject, pretty much everything that's in existence to know. And then I chew it all and then decide what fits my perspective the best. And that's pretty much how I learn. But it
So,
but it
and
entails an
you
enormous
also,
amount of chewing of information,
yeah,
absorbing.
you also, my experience of you too is that you also are meditating on it, and you're getting intuitive guidance and support around this too. So it's not only your research coming from science or from investigating the world wide web.
Right. Well, of course, I have to feed the information into the spirit machine. But so I
Right.
have to get that from the physical, from the internet, from papers, from wherever. But then I actually feed it into my soul. That's kind of a weird way to say it, but I feed it into just here, and I see, how it makes me feel. A lot of times, I don't get the answers right away, and so it just kind of goes up as a potential. The BS immediately goes right out, and my heart can typically funnel that out. But if there's anything that I don't know for sure that could be a potential, then I put it out in the space, and I just wait until something else clicks. And normally when I find another piece of information, it clicks, but it'll drag like 10 other pieces that I had out in the field. It'll pull it with it. And then my puzzle is like a more percentage complete.
I love it. It's like everything
So
goes
it pays
into
to
sync.
deep dive and research everything.
Oh
So,
yeah, I can see why you do that. So my first question for you is, how did you get started in all of this? Because it's not like we kind of grew up eating a little bit healthy, but nothing compared to where you are now, right? So when did your journey start with the healthy vessel, and how did that start, if you don't mind sharing that with us?
sure, sure. Well, it started, I was in my early 40s, and I was just lack of energy, just real tired. And so I did what most guys would do. I think I was 41 or 42. Most guys would do is they go to the doctor, do a blood test. And so the doctor came back and he told me I was low on testosterone. Well, I didn't want to hear that, but I figured I'm a man in his 40s living life. That's what I'd heard everybody else typically suffers with. It was seemed normal. And so I said, okay, give me the prescription for your testosterone. And so I went to fill it up. It was like $350. And this was going to be a monthly forever, right?
Mm.
Because it's just what happens in men when you grow older, right? That's what the
Right.
doctor told me. So I used it for a couple of months, and it didn't really change much. I had a little bit more energy, but the big thing was my sexuality had just kind of dived down. My energy had dived down. My give a shit really had started to dwindle. And so the testosterone gave me some of that back, but it didn't give me all of it back. So then I started searching to find what other thing I was missing that wasn't indicative in my blood test, not believing that it was the testosterone, right? I mean, still thinking that the testosterone was doing some of the help. So I started researching, and I find that fruits and vegetables are what actually give you energy, and they actually carry life. I was a meat and potatoes guy. I mean, the potatoes were cooked and the meat was cooked. And so there really isn't much life in either one of them. There's just carbohydrates, protein, and the energy to run, but not much life.
Yeah.
So, and what I was lacking, what I found in my research was life. not testosterone, not, it was just life and the will to live. So I started eating 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, still putting the testosterone cream on, but 10 servings of fruits and vegetables. And something started to work. All of a sudden I started having more energy. I started getting sexually excited. It was fun. So I was putting it together with maybe both, because I was still part of the programming. So I continued with that testosterone cream, but eating the fruits and vegetables. But then I ran out of the cream one time, and because I was looking, researching, trying to get the cream a little bit cheaper. So I was trying to get it shipped in from other countries where I could get it a little bit cheaper. But consequently, I ran out for a little bit of time, but I continued to eat the fruits and vegetables, and my energy skyrocketed. And so I clearly knew at that moment that it was the testosterone. That was basically the opening of the door for me to peer into the medical system and actually see that everything in the medical system is extremely unbalanced to one side and synthetic.
Yeah. I think a part of this is because they take the body and they separate it, right? Like, so for example, like I went in because I would get dizzy, right? And I went in to get to a dizziness specialist, and they looked at my eyes, my ears for my dizziness, and that's it. They didn't address the real problem that I found out later, which was the fact that my spine was out of place, pinching the nerve that leads to my ear. And they couldn't even address that. And so I think part of the issue, at least that I've found, is that the standard allopathic medicine separates the body, and we're actually one whole creature.
Right. Correct. But it isn't necessarily the doctor's fault.
No.
Just because that's the way they've learned.
Exactly.
That's the way the structure has been designed. Because in my career as a water treatment specialist, I learned everything that I needed to learn by the stuff that was available. And I only learned the left side. I knew there was more to it, but if you're in a professional setting, you have to give people what you know works. And that's what the doctor's doing.
Right.
Even though it's extremely imbalanced, it's working on it still works, but it's just extreme for the body.
Yeah. Yeah. So then all this was happening with your fruits and the vegetables. Now you were probably eating a lot of these raw, correct?
Oh yes, all raw, because I was looking for the energy. If you cook the fruit, it's the same as eating a potato or a steak. If you cook it, you lose what I found it was information packets stored from the sun, because we all know that the sun is life. Well, the fruits and vegetables that we eat, if you want life and not above and beyond your carbs and sugars, you have to eat raw. And that was what I found in my research.
Nice. So tell a little bit more about that, if you will, about the process of the sun bringing life to the fruits and vegetables, so people can understand this a little bit more fully.
Okay. Well, in my research, I find that the earth basically is the ground, and it's the matter that everything grows in. But like everything that works in the world is polar, we have to have a positive and a negative polar end to it. And the sun is the positive end, to the earth is the negative end. So if you're eating fruits and vegetables that have tree ripened or vine ripened, then you're getting the full amount of the electric energy and the magnetic energy. The earth is magnetic and the sun is electric, but together you're getting the full package of information, light information.
I love it. I love how you talk about it, the nutrients as information.
Well, that's what they are. If you go all the way down to the quantum level and you look at, let's just say calcium, for instance, calcium on a quantum level has like 15 different forms or attitudes, different, depending on how many electrons are to it. So depending on the charge of the field, and depending on what other ions have influenced it, there's just so much that's in there. And so they're conscious. The minerals are conscious.
So then all of these minerals, which is information in the fruits and vegetables, how do you experience that information coming into the body to inform the body? How do you experience that, or how would you share that with somebody?
Well, the best that I could explain from my understanding is when you eat it, the nutrients and the minerals, the true minerals that are in the fruits and the vegetables go into the blood, and everything matters what's in the blood, because the blood carries the vibration of your spirit. I mean, your spirit of who you are, your memory, all through different lives. That's all carried in our blood.
Mm.
Blood or the water can go through time and space. And so that's why it's genetic through the blood.
Mm. Yeah, so I'm noticing I'm wanting you to deep dive a little bit into the the genetics for me and how all anything around that that comes up for you. Like I'm here to listen and imagine other people want to hear it too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's such a huge subject. Uh, and mineral is kind of where my specialty is.
Okay, great. Just
So,
share a little bit about whatever your specialty is then.
okay. Well, so I'll give you a tidbit of something that I clearly understand is silica or silicon. It's sand. People know it as sand on the beach. You know, it's the little grains of sand, but it's silicates. Those are silicate particles. But in dissolved form or amorphous form, when they're in water, what they can do is they're magic. They actually absorb sunlight and then electrically charge the water that's around them. They raise the frequency of the water. So um, lower charged elements or biological beings can't live in the water. So to say that in a different terms, if you have dissolved silica in a quart of water like this, and then you put bacteria in there, bad bacteria, put it in the sunshine, that bad bacteria would not survive.
So that
Simply
we
because the silicon mineral absorbs the photons from the sun, and they transfer those photons into electrons and send it into the water, which electricity raises the frequency of the water. The more electrons that the water can hold, the higher the frequency of the water, the less chance of bad biological being able to live. And the way it tells between the bad and the good biological is because of their energetic field. Just like our energetic field, they have an energetic field. And if it's a high frequency, it understands lower density. If it's lower density than that, it can't be in the same vicinity, so it exits.
great. And so how do we get that silica in our bodies? What's like the best way
That's
to do that?
that's a great question. That's one thing that we're extremely deprived of, but we should get it through our fruits and vegetables.
Uh-huh. Awesome.
Mostly fruits, but yeah, but it's deprived in the soil. It's depleted completely in the soil. So we have to put it back into the soil in ways that the rhizosphere or the bacteria and the bugs in the soil can eat the stuff that we're putting in there. If they're healthy, then they process everything healthy, and then the silica gets to go into the plant. But we've been taught when we're gardening to do fertilizers, which is only 3 minerals, and basically the bugs can't live off of only 3 minerals. I can't live off of only 3 things, you
Right.
know, so they need a wide variety. And so, however, I mean, that's a whole nother subject we could go into. In fact, I kind of got lost a little bit on it. But it's basically just about the bugs in the ground. If they have the proper nutrients, then they put out proper nutrients in the form that the plant can uptake, and then the silica goes into the plant, and silica actually fortifies the walls of the plant so that the bugs cannot bite into the walls of the plant.
That's
So if you have the proper amount of silica that was designed for that plant in, let's say, Garden of Eden design, right? Original design, then bugs would not be attacking it. They couldn't. It'd be like trying to bite into a little crystal plant.
so
But that's what we're seriously lacking in.
yeah, so to me, that sounds like the best form of pesticide control is to make sure that your soil has enough silica in it that it fortifies the plant and gives the bugs what they need as well, so that we are in a happy environment in our soil.
Correct. But I just gave you silica. Now imagine all the minerals from A to Z, and
Mhm.
every single one of them have the exact same story. So
Right.
it isn't like silica is going to save us from there and everything. It's the whole holistic. You got to get everything from aluminum to zirconium, and you got to bring them all in their natural form and put them in the earth.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I actually have a friend. We both know this friend, Dan Howard,
Mm.
and him and Caroline. They're really working to create this so that they can remineralize the earth for
Oh, I
farmers.
love
They're
it. That's
creating a product so that they can help farmers remineralize the earth. Yeah, and
yes.
they've
I,
also
great.
found that the minerals can help take the glyphosates out of the soil so that we can actually start uptaking the minerals into our plants.
Right. That makes me so happy because glyphosate is such a killer. I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked about it on my other channels, but on my other videos, but yeah, glyphosate is a killer. I take supplements every day to remove it.
Hmm. Yeah. So, okay, so now we've got these plants that are uptaking all these minerals. Now you've talked a little bit about this on some of your other videos about the importance of having those minerals come from plants. Is there anything more you want to say on this? Like, how do we
Um,
get this in our daily diet now? If the farmers, if it's not in our food, even organic food, how can we get this? Because I know you've done a lot of research in this area.
well, we have to re-educate our farmers or become farmers ourselves. Those of us that know how to do it, and teach people by showing the difference between the quality of the fruits and vegetables that we grow.
Right.
Basically, we have to treat the soil, give it life. Right now, we're taught to till and to spray and to fertilize. Basically, tilling rips open all the houses of the bugs that are living in there. The fertilizer, the three, potassium, nitrogen, and phosphorus, basically are the only three ingredients that make the plant look green, hold its shape, and have somewhat of a structure, but all else is pretty much eliminated. So we need to put all the fertilizers back in, not just the three, but we need to do it as a natural form. Like what I've done is to put in a certain mineral. I find a crop that by growing this crop will release that mineral that I want as an exudate into the soil. An exudate is actually a sugar that the bugs in the ground like to eat. So for instance, I was planting a peach tree in my front yard. My experiment was I planted corn in the ground right where the tree went, and I grew the corn for a certain amount of time right before it started to flower, or right before the stem started to come up, because I wanted the nutrients that the corn would put into the ground as exudates, simply because it would draw the type of bugs that I wanted.
Mm.
The bugs that I wanted were good for the peach tree. And so I researched the type of sugars that the corn put out, and that was the same type of bugs that I wanted that would take care of the peach tree for the rest of its life. Does that
Wow.
make sense? So I
Yes.
created this rhizosphere. I dug a hole 4 foot by 4 foot, put soil that I built, rice husks, ceramic beads, carbon, different things, worm castings, and then I put different teas in it and let it cook in the ground there for about 3 to 4 weeks, and then I planted the tree. But
Wow.
now that tree is basically nourished for the rest of its life.
Wow. And so you don't have to keep doing that. Did that build the soil completely so you don't have to feed
Correct.
that tree ever again?
Correct. Yep.
Dang,
Just
dude.
water, and there's enough. If I keep mulch on the top of that soil, where I keep the soil protected and never dig into it, then those bugs will thrive. And I dug a 4 foot by 4 foot hole. And so the whole entire thing, I very carefully layered all the way up. When I would water with the worm teas and the different like basalts and stuff, I layered it all in there so that as the water would go in and slowly dissolve everything, I mean, there's so much mineral in there, it could take care of my whole entire yard, but it's just in
Um,
one 4 foot hole.
so you literally changed the microbiome of your soil in that spot
Correct.
where your tree.
Correct.
That's
It's called a rhizosphere.
the rhizosphere. Did you get that information from somewhere that our listeners can go access?
Oh yes,
Because
yes.
not
I
everybody
I
likes doing research like you do, Roy.
oh, I love it. I love it, especially if there's something that really just grabs you. Then I deep dive and learn everything there is about it. But yeah, I've learned most of my stuff from Matt, the permaculture student. He's
Oh,
on YouTube. He's very awesome, and he's very knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about.
sweet.
And
And
the
we can put
world
a
needs
link.
many more Matts.
Yeah, we can put a link down below for anybody who wants to go and
Yes.
watch his
He
podcast.
has a great course right now that he's teaching everybody how to do this. I mean, it's an amazing course, all the way down to being able to do soil tests, microscope tests of the bugs that are in your soil. It's like $1,000 for this course.
Wow.
It's hands down worth it.
That's so worth it. That's like going to school to read microbiome your soil. Like yeah,
That's
that's
exactly what
amazing.
it is.
I
And
definitely
he's
want to do
teaching you
that.
the truth, authentic, how to do it for yourself, so that if they decide to put a ban on fertilizers, no problem. That's better for the earth. They decide to stop you from doing all that, anything.
Yeah.
You have everything that you need inside the soil. You're pretty
Yeah,
much solid.
that's beautiful. Okay, so that's one way that a really big, beautiful way that people can really start getting those minerals into their body. And let's say what would a good bridge be until somebody is there where they have a garden and they have their soil all
Sure. Sure.
remicrobiomed. I don't know if that
Right.
terminology
I don't even
but
have it done yet, so I understand what you're
yeah.
saying. So what I've done is I have researched supplements,
Hmm.
supplements for the body that give me the full spectrum of all my minerals, metabolites, phytonutrients, everything that the body needs. And it's a pretty extensive supplement list, but we're pretty depleted
Yeah.
with our mineral. So right now, to build the body back up from the depletion, it takes a lot.
And do you have a video all on that of like everything
I
to
do.
re-mineralize the body?
I do, and it's video number 7 on Rumble on my channel, and it's called my review of supplements, and it's the
Okay.
supplements that I actually take on a daily basis.
Okay, awesome. And do you know if YouTube will let us put a link to that Rumble video?
I think they do.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yeah, the YouTube. It's actually on YouTube as well.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll put both links.
Okay, that's perfect. That's fabulous. Nice. So what else do you do for this healthy vessel? Like we've talked about the importance of minerals and getting that into your system. And I feel like we just barely touched on minerals
Oh yeah.
because I think that's key for so many things. So maybe before we move on, is there anything more that you want to say around remineralizing your body and getting all that information into the blood?
Yeah, I would say the one thing that I would like to say is that most people think that they get their remineralization from their water, and they
Mm,
should not, because 2 reasons: the remineralization of the water, what minerals are you putting in it, and where did they get those minerals?
right,
Were they
right.
plant derived minerals, or were they from the industry that they bought? And are they going to even dissolve?
Are they
That's the major question.
bioavailable, right?
Right.
Yeah, my
And then the
understanding is that it's only plant-based minerals that are bioavailable. Like if you're getting your minerals from shells and rocks and that kind of thing, it's not bioavailable. Is that
That's correct.
accurate?
That's accurate. Not all shells, depending on where exactly how they formed in the ocean. Some coral you can actually absorb because it was a living plant
Mm,
one time, or living, not a plant, but it was living at one time, so you can absorb some of that. But typically, the harder it gets, it's on the Mohs scale, they start to scale and crystallize. The more that happens, the harder it is for the body to break that back down again and reabsorb it. But that's where the healthy rhizosphere in the plants, the bugs actually like that form of mineral. They chew on that. It actually becomes their exoskeleton. But through the digestive processes, they've taken a crystallized mineral, turned it into a water soluble form of calcium or magnesium or whatever it was that they ate. And then when that bug dies, their skeleton goes right into the earth, and the plant uptakes that form of mineral, and that is water soluble, and then that's concentrated in the plant, and that's how we get the true form of it.
mm,
Where
wow.
nature's ran through 3 different nature filters and processes, and then we eat it, and then it's good for us.
Wow. And then we can uptake it.
Correct.
Yeah, got it. Awesome. So we started briefly talking about the water, and I would love for you to go back to that if you would and tell why people don't want to get the minerals in their water. I mean, maybe that's not the question I want to ask. It's like, what is water good for then? Like, let's
Sure.
talk about that because there's so
Sure.
much you can talk about with water, Roy. I know.
Oh yeah, yeah, there is. We can talk about that
So,
for.
what wants to be talked about with water in this moment about the body and the healthy vessel?
Well, I think if we carry on with that, people wanting to mineralize through the water, first of all, the mineral that you're putting in the water to taste it or to even be able to drink it is in the form of maybe like 16 or 17 parts per million, which isn't enough. You'd have to drink like 100 gallons a day of water, of that mineral water, to get your daily intake of mineral.
Mm,
And it's not even in the form that it can uptake it.
yeah.
So if we've established that you get your minerals from the foods, then we should also establish that your minerals shouldn't be in the water. And I can say one more thing that's kind of a little exaggerated. Do you drink ocean water?
No, heck
No.
no.
Why? because you'd become dehydrated.
Right.
The reason why is because there's more mineral in the water than there is mineral in the cell. And so when you drink that, the osmotic pressure pushes the water to where more salt is or where more mineral is to dilute it for, that's just the way osmosis works. So if you drink water that's high in mineral, it's going to surround your cell, and all the water from the cell is going to go outside the cell, dilute this, and then you're going to pass it out into the bladder. And then your cell is going to shrink down half size. So if you put mineral in your water, you're getting 50% roughly of your hydration.
So what about people who tell you to put like salt in your water and drink that every day? Like,
same thing. You're dehydrating yourself.
you're hydrating yourself. It's not
You're
actually helping
dehydrating.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I.
Your cells become hypertonic.
Okay, that's interesting. So then it would serve better to do something like distilled water or reverse
Correct.
osmosis water.
Correct. Pure water. The pure water, the better. And
What about
then the
spring
reason
water?
why is
Spring water.
because now, pardon?
I was going to ask you about spring water because spring water has minerals in it, but I'm assuming it's different.
It is different. And we'll get to spring water, so hold that thought.
Okay.
But the pure water, if you're going to drink pure water, it is the exact reverse of the story that we were saying before. Drinking the seawater, all your minerals are on the outside of the cell. The water goes this way. But if you drink pure water, now you have pure water on the outside of the cells. Where does it go? The salt is on the inside of the cell because you should be balanced in your 4 electrolytes. If you have pure water on the outside, it races to the inside of the cell to hydrate where those 4 electrolytes are. If you have pure water, then your homeostasis can be perfectly balanced and do what it's supposed to do.
Wow. Okay, that's beautiful. So I've got a personal question for you about me. Okay. So like I crave salt and it's like I can't seem to get enough salt. Does this play into this at all?
I would say that your body is lacking a mineral, and it gets that mineral out of, like, maybe, is it cured if you eat sea salt or Himalayan salt, or is it cured if you eat table salt? I know you wouldn't want
Definitely. I haven't eaten
blue
table
and
salt
glass,
in so
but
many years. So I don't even know about that one, but I know it gets cured if I'm eating the good sea salt, right? Or the Himalayan salt. I really love the Himalayan salt.
you're probably just lacking one aspect of a mineral profile that's in that sea salt. The sea salt, if you could break that mineral profile down, would probably have maybe 500 profiles of all the different forms and types of minerals.
Okay.
And you're probably lacking in a few of those. And so when you take the whole gambit, the 6 or 7 that you're lacking is curing that. And so there you go. But all those other minerals that you're getting is making that mineral around that cell more concentrated.
Oh,
that makes
so
sense. And
really
so you really should find what you're lacking and not just do the umbrella a whole bunch of salt.
Okay, that's really good to know. I do take a really good plant-based mineral, and I've been taking it for a few years now, and I've noticed a difference in my body, and I don't crave salt quite as much, but I still do. So there's still something I'm lacking. How would I go about finding that out?
What I heard you just say was this new plant mineral that you're taking cleared up 6 of those minerals that you were doing, but you're still missing 3 others. Roughly, you know what, that's what the number is exact, but
right.
So that's what I would experiment, if I was you, with different plant supplements, one at a time for a week or 2, because you can't overdose on plant supplements, and see if all of a sudden you find that magic one, because the combinations of the minerals are endless. I mean, that's what we're here on this planet to find out, is where the magic is of the mixtures of minerals and stuff.
Awesome.
That's alchemy. So if you can find out an exact one that makes you happy and perfect, well, you've succeeded.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So, okay. So now back to the spring water.
So the spring water, I like spring water. I wouldn't hydrate 100% of the time with it unless that was all you had. If that was all you had and you were healthy, then I would drink it. I would test it to make sure. But typically, spring water is nature's automatic remineralization. The water doesn't want to dissolve something that doesn't need to be dissolved if it's in nature. When man gets involved, we start changing temperatures of water, introducing oxygen, then the water becomes the universal solvent, and it wants to dissolve all kinds of things, because temperature changes and all that now changes the water's ability to dissolve. And so when you drink that water, it isn't naturally dissolved. I don't know exactly how else to describe it, but
Mhm.
so spring water has a far greater potential to be natural, and the minerals that are water soluble that your body can use more than well water or something like that.
Yeah, okay. But you'd still suggest like having some distilled water or reverse osmosis
Absolutely.
water.
Because still mineral water, let's just say this water is running by a vein of high alkalinity, and it's natural alkalinity. It's good for your body, but still the science is the same with that water wrapped around your cell. If this alkalinity, natural or synthetic, is in there, eventually, and if that's only thing you're drinking, you're going to become dehydrated.
Okay.
So if you love the taste of your mineral water, drink your mineral water and enjoy it, but realize what it is.
Yeah,
And then also realize that you need pure water and enjoy that too because of what it is.
got it. Okay, that's fabulous to know.
Balance.
So then this touches into the hydrogen machine, right?
Yes.
Which you've got a
Yes.
bunch of videos on that. Please go
I
watch
do.
them, people, because they're very informative. I recently got me a hydrogen machine and I'm freaking loving it. So now with this understanding about the minerals around the cell and how it blocks it out, why does hydrogen water hydrate your body so well?
Wonderful question. So that cell that I'm talking about with all the water going around it, if that is so full of mineral and that mineral is sucking the water out of the cell, what happens to your cell is it starts to shrink. Excuse me, the sides of it start to shrink. It actually starts to absorb traumas and different things. And so it'll actually go down to like 50%.
Wow.
When you breathe the hydrogen or drink hydrogen water, what happens is the hydrogen is a very small particle, very small atom, and so it will actually penetrate through. If your cell is halfway down and it's got all this mineral and trauma, it will penetrate through all that, and it has the original template, and so it helps hydrate this cell so it will slowly start to strengthen back up again and rehydrate that cell. But regular water could not have done it because of the barrier around. Hydrogen is not susceptible to that barrier because hydrogen's charge, it doesn't fit with the same rules that osmosis fits, because hydrogen is an atom and not an ion. The difference is purity. An atom is pure, so it can pass through because it has perfectly balanced. An ion is unbalanced, and so it cannot pass through because it gets snagged up wherever the opposite charge is.
Wow. So then changing the water from H2O to H3O ups the hydrogen molecule or atoms. And that gives the does that help the water get into the cell, or is it the hydrogen that actually hydrates the cell?
It's the hydrogen that actually hydrates the cell. So when you drink water, your body actually splits the water into the two gases, oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen is sent off to hydrate the cells and do a few other chemical reactions. The oxygen typically runs everything else in the body, like the Krebs cycle, all your oxidative of your food, your enzymes. That's what all the oxygen goes to.
Okay.
So
Wow.
hydrogen is strictly for the hydration of the
And
cells.
thus the name. Is
Thus the
that
name.
why it has that name? Is
Correct.
because it
Correct.
is about hydrating the
Correct.
cell.
That
That's
is correct.
amazing. So then my question goes to, does hydrating the cell, my brain thinks of like once the cell is hydrated, can it now detoxify?
Yes. In fact, as it's hydrating with the hydrogen, it is detoxing slowly because those little hydrogens are perfectly round. Your cell is no longer round and it's like half. As they go in there, it starts to slowly swell this back out again because they're hydrating, and they know they stay in there because they're not bound by any of the laws out here. So they stay in there and continually to hold this cell open. If the more you drink, if you stopped, eventually that hydrogen is going to go out. But
Yeah,
as
yeah.
long as you continually input it, it's going to continually give back the cell its original structure because it's truly hydrating it.
Wow, that's so
Which
freaking cool.
now you're detoxing.
Right.
Drinking the water, you're automatically detoxing.
I've done a lot of detoxing through my life. A ton of detoxing, right? I'm talking about long fasts, all kinds of stuff, and I fast regularly. And the first time I used this machine at your home, and I only did it for 20 minutes, I think, maybe 30, right?
Mhm.
And I started experiencing a detoxing of the heavy metals
Yep. Me too.
immediately. That's
Exactly.
what sold me on it. Was I'm like, holy freaking cow. This started the detox process for me personally so quickly.
Yeah. Well, I experienced not necessarily the metals, but I experienced the feeling of a detox in my first 20 minutes too. It was just a little uneasy and but I recognized that feeling.
Right.
So I knew what it was. I didn't push it the first day, and then the second day I
Yeah.
definitely tried it more, and that's when I really
Yeah.
noticed.
I don't want to scare people on like they're going to get all sick or anything and have all these detox symptoms. I've done a lot of detoxing, so I'm aware of it, and it was just ever so slight. It
Yeah.
wasn't painful at all. It wasn't miserable. It's not like I got this massive headache. It was such a gentle, gentle detox that I was like, "What in the world?" But I noticed it, and that's something else that I'm aware of too. With this is it feels gentle going in my body.
Yes. And one thing that I'd like to tell you on this is the one of the biggest studies that they've done with hydrogen water is metabolic syndrome. And so metabolic syndrome is basically a syndrome that what we were talking about with the cells, how they couldn't absorb the water, but metabolic syndrome is our cells as we eat. And because we've ate so much crap and we're the environment, we've been bombarded with so much crap, the cells in our body, it's the same exact way. They can't absorb.
Mm,
I just
wow.
lost my train of thought there.
Yeah. So you were talking about the metabolic.
Oh, the metabolic syndrome. Yeah. So basically the metabolic syndrome is our cell's way, our body's way of if we're bombarded with all the crap, we no longer can make good decisions because we eat a steak and we think that it makes us feel good. That's metabolic syndrome. Or we craving the apple pie or we're craving the Coke because all the beings that are in us that are eating that, the Candida and all that stuff, that creates metabolic syndrome because the self no longer chooses any longer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the Candida that's choosing and that. And so that's metabolic syndrome. What I've noticed with this is because I don't have much of that, I figure, well, I don't have metabolic syndrome, but I still would like occasionally I'd like a cookie or something like that. But when I drink this, all my desires for that are gone. It's
That's
just
amazing.
like so now I understand how it's working with the metabolic syndrome. It actually goes in there and is purifying whatever it was that was craving that cookie,
Yeah.
it's helping reduce that. And my theory is that it's helps reduce fungus and parasites in the
Mm,
body. It doesn't kill them because hydrogen isn't a killer.
right. Right.
Hydrogen
It's a
is a
life giver,
purifier.
right? A
It's a
purifier.
life giver. And so parasites are after death. That's the only reason they're there is because I ate meat or I ate something that was dead or cooked. So the parasites go in there to process that for my body because my body does not know how to do that. This vehicle only runs on pure glucose and glycogen. Now
Mm,
I've been installed with a Krebs cycle so that if I eat something else, that Krebs cycle can chemically process that, but there's side effects to all that. And
right. It
so
means that you also attract parasites and that to
that is
help
correct.
you eat all of the crap that you're putting in your body
That is
because
correct.
it's
Because
not
the body can't do it. So the parasites are welcomed in because they see a need. And so they come in and then they just hang out because they know there's going to be meat or whatever they like passing by there all the time. And so that's what they live on. But
yeah.
when you stop eating that and you start drinking the hydrogen, well, basically you're bringing life everywhere. And the pathogens and your fungus and stuff, they're just like, we're no longer needed. And so then they leave
Yeah.
and they're not getting fed because
That's
there's too
so
much life.
beautiful. Right. So
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 it's
it's like
just the
why be here?
reduction of the parasitic entities in the body is what I
Say that
appreciate.
again because
The
I missed.
reduction of the parasitic entities in the body is
I
what I'm
love
noticing.
it. Wow, that's fascinating. And because you have that reduction of the parasites, you tend to crave food less. Crave
Correct.
the foods that don't serve your body to eat less.
Correct. Correct.
That's amazing. Have you noticed, of course, you were already doing a lot of this stuff, but have you noticed an increase in desire of wanting what does serve?
Yes. Yes. I actually drink 4 to 5 full quarts of water, plain, pure hydrogen water now, because instead of going to the cupboard to get a cookie, I know the cookie's going to be like, as soon as I even get close to the cookie, it's like, I just no longer have an attraction, but the water, it attracts.
Mm,
which I do have an interesting thing to share with you.
I want to
So,
hear it.
so I learned this yesterday. So basically, you know about muscle testing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So do you understand what is happening? I'll explain it. Your blood cell, your round blood cell, around it has an energetic platonic solid. Okay. And a platonic solid would be, in this case, the pyramid, with the top pyramid and the pyramid below it. So our blood cell is surrounded by an energetic platonic solid of the pyramid, which is fire. Fire is thought or electricity. Okay. So when you ask your body something, do I want this? The field, that platonic solid field, interacts with the field and your words. And if it's toxic, that field collapses
Oh, wow.
because it doesn't want this charge. It doesn't know that it's negative and all that other stuff, good or
Right.
bad. It doesn't label it. It doesn't want the toxic charge or the opposite charge of what this is. So it collapses. It says, no, thank you. That's
Wow.
why you become weak, is because all your blood cells lose their energy for that second, and that feeds everything, the
That
electricity.
makes so much sense. Holy
So
cow,
yeah,
that's
that was an interesting
beautiful.
light bulb.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. All right, I have another potentially big question, Roy,
Okay.
and let's dive. Let's dive with this one as deep as you want to go with this one, or feel called to go with this one at this point.
Okay.
And that is how do you perceive that having a healthy vessel affects you emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically?
Well, emotionally, having a healthy vessel, going through the cleansing process has taught me to deal with pain and uncomfort and all kinds of just weird crap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what emotions are, is all kinds of hard, hurtful, painful crap, at least the ones that we stuff anyway. The
Right,
ones that we
right.
enjoy, we milk all the way through and we love it and we don't have problems with those, but it's the hard ones. So through my purging and stuff, I learned that experiencing the purge ended it.
Mm.
And so that's where you start with the emotions. So you start sitting with the emotions and feeling the emotions and experiencing the emotions. That's all they wanted, was to just, they needed a channel to go through, and I was saving them for later. Well, later's now, and so we're sending them out.
Now. Do you feel like that having a body that's not weighed down with a lot of crap in it makes it easier to be able
Very
to
much,
process your emotion?
very, very much so. But I was so dense at first from all the emotion and traumas and all the things that I had stuffed and not dealt with or didn't even know existed. I The emotional part and the spiritual part was so far out of reach that I didn't even know they existed, nor did I care. I
Mm.
was just trying to live this physical life. But
Right.
as I started purging that, realizing that there's way more, these all of a sudden started coming a lot closer to me. And my, what was the first one you said? Emotional?
Yeah, emotional and
Yeah, so
spiritual.
emotional. And then what was the second one that you said?
Spiritual.
Spiritual, and then physical. I noticed him physical first, and I just started getting more energy, and I stopped having to use the testosterone. My sex drive came back. I mean, it came back with a vengeance too, with the fruits and vegetables too.
That's awesome.
So, and I have not been tested for testosterone, but I can guarantee you that it's through the roofs. I'm perfectly healed from that. So then so that was the physical, and then the spiritual. The biggest thing that I noticed is the purer I get, the more connected I feel, and the more, well, let me back up a little bit. When I had my traumas and densities and stuff, I would have to try really, really, really hard to connect, and it was a job. And
Mm.
so I didn't do it that often. As I started purifying, it was much, much easier. And then I learned why, because the higher energies, if they come down into a dense body, it makes me sick because it starts to vibrate at a higher frequency, and then you're purging. So lovingly, the higher energies would only come down as I could absorb them. When I realized that it was only me that was slowing me down, that's when I deep
Mm.
dived, went full bore into purifying the body as much as I could, because I've been connected before, accidentally a few times when I was very dense, and it was wonderful. And I wanted to see one, I wanted to explore it more. I wanted to see if it was real, see how real it could be, and how tangible it truly was, and if I could bring information back
Yeah.
on a regular basis. And so that was what drove my spirit to do it. The health was kind of a side effect. It was fun to lose a bunch of weight, and be a lot healthier and
feel good and have
feel
your
good
testosterone high again, and it's good
yeah,
sex
and
drive.
and having clear thoughts again, and having no body aches and pains, and being able to feel good about yourself when you look in the mirror, and all those things they weigh a huge part. And so I've noticed the biggest with physical and spiritual, but the emotional was a massive part, because if I forgot that, then the spiritual never would have came.
Yeah. So would you say that your physical body was an actual doorway into a greater experience of the spiritual?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And it still continues to be. And it still continues to surprise me on a daily basis how wonderful these Ferraris are that we've been growing. I mean, they run on all kinds of fuel, they can do all kinds of fancy tricks, and
And connected to worlds unseen and
oh
receive
my,
all
yep.
kinds of fun information, and that can really bless us here and make life really truly amazing.
Yeah. Well, my life is the purer I've gotten, the happier I've gotten to.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
So, I mean, that's as far as, I mean, I'm willing to deep dive as deeper onto any subject you want, or more into that if you want, if you have any particular questions.
Yeah. Well, I've got lots and lots of questions for you, but I'm looking to see what's going to serve for today, right?
Sure.
And so, okay. So here's what's coming through is, where would you suggest people start? Like, let's say someone, I know lots of people who are very committed to eating their meat, and for me, bread has been a big one. Not meat. Meat was easy to
Sure.
let go of for me, but bread has been a big one. Where would you suggest somebody start? Right? Your
Well,
average everyday human being that eats a lot of fast food, that what I mean, that doesn't really have
sure.
big
Well, that was
connection.
me 10 years ago. Well, not 15 years ago, roughly. Um, I would say try to add a little bit more raw into your diet, and a little less meat, and a little less cooked for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 21 days is probably the best way. What I did was because I like my meat too. I had to have my chicken and pork ribs and all that. But so I would do my 10 servings of fruits and vegetables. And then when I would come home, I would have my chicken breast, because I needed my protein. I had my boiled eggs. I took care of everything that I had learned in personal training class. That was, only one side of the science, but so I did all that, and I lost weight, and I felt better. And so that will work. Basically, what my advice would be is do something, one, that you will continue to do, and two, that will move the needle on your health a little bit. Because if your body feels a little bit better, your drive becomes more to do it. And yeah, that's it. So
Yeah. I'm also seeing like a big one could be starting to drink water that's good for you, like that actually hydrates you.
well, that probably should have been my first thing that I said, is drink more water that hydrates you, because that is where you'll notice, one, as soon as you start to drink more water, especially if it's hydrated water, as you become hydrated, you will start to notice way more when you eat something, if it's going to make you feel bad or not, and
Mm-hmm.
stop eating the things that make you feel bloated.
Yeah. Yeah. And this can be a little challenging at first while the parasites are dying. It can be.
Oh yes, it can be
You know what
very
I mean?
challenging. All kinds of emotions go through, but one thing I learned, and it took me a long time to learn, was those emotions that are coming up of the cravings, they're not my emotions. Those are the emotions of the parasites.
Yeah. Or not always your emotions.
Well, yeah, not always my emotions. Sometimes they're my, sugar was cookies, or my vice.
Exactly.
But why were they my vice? The
Exactly.
Candida that was in there in my body infiltrated have a hand in that? Were they whispering in my ear saying, you know?
Right, right, right. Yeah. So for me, I'm really into the emotional world, and I do a lot of teaching in that, and that's my field, right?
Mm,
And so what I'm seeing here is for myself is that um, we don't want to. We tend to not want to feel things that are uncomfortable, right? And so because we don't want to feel that, we tend to avoid the uncomfortable emotion. And one of the ways to do that is we grab sugar, or we grab a beer, or we grab, something else that kind of numbs out, helps to numb out a little bit of that emotion, which then therefore invites the parasites into the body, right? And
correct.
it's this vicious cycle. And so then to interrupt that cycle, we start to do the opposite. We're going to feel uncomfortable feelings. It's just a part of it. And so I want to encourage everybody to practice becoming okay, feeling uncomfortable. And the more practice we can have with that, I think the ease of this whole experience of getting our bodies healthy will enhance a lot when we can be okay being uncomfortable. We're not going
Yeah.
to be uncomfortable forever. This actually so quickly enhances how good we feel.
Yeah, I
It's
agree. At
amazing.
first, the uncomfortable lasts a little bit, but I've learned the more that you do this, the quicker they get, and I start looking forward to the upgrade or whatever it is that's on the other side of whatever I'm purging from or dealing with. There's
Oh,
always a gift on the other side, and now they're coming quicker, so I'm recognizing that there's a gift every time. And so now I get excited to kind of hurry and work through whatever it is. It makes it sitting with the pain not quite as painful.
yeah, I agree. I'm glad you said that. I saw like a dog with a treat, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you go, okay, I'm willing to face this because
Right.
there's a treat on the other side, and that treat gets better and better.
Yes.
It,
Yes.
it's
I
not
can
that you're going
attest
to
to
get
that
the same treat. The treat gets better and better and better and better.
because you can hold a bigger treat each time you're more pure. You get to hold
Yes.
more energy. My treats have always been more energy and being able to
Mhm.
deal with or wield this energy in other ways that have benefited me.
Yes. Yeah. I was just going to ask you, what are your treats?
Yeah.
What are your treats right now,
Energy,
Roy?
energy. Well, right now it's energy in all kinds of different ways. You know, more
Mhm.
energy in my meditations, way more visuals, more energy in my just everyday life,
More
uh,
information,
more information.
more guidance. What I'm
And
seeing coming through you is even more of an ability to really bless people, like in huge ways with this information that's coming through you, right? And that's got
well,
to be such a gift too, is to know that you can bless people.
yes, it has been a gift, and for the last couple of years, I've just been absorbing knowledge and purging. But as soon as I got that hydrogen machine, which was December 19th, I mean that's like a month and a half.
Yeah.
It gave me that much more energy, and that was the huge gift. And but my next thing was I had to get out and join everybody else that was speaking truth, because there is a truth movement
Mhm.
that the world needs to know about. And so the hydrogen kind of lit a fire under my butt to join that. So
Yeah.
here I am.
Well, thank you so much. I've been wanting a YouTube channel with you on it for so freaking long. So I'm glad that it all is aligning now for you, and I'm glad you're stepping out there and going to share some of this wisdom that's been flowing through you. It's truly a gift, Roy. You've been a gift for my life, and I imagine for so many other people's lives. And who knows,
Thank you.
people's
Thank you
lives
for
you
that.
haven't even touched yet.
Yeah. Well, I hope I can continue to help people as I've been helped.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing little tidbits. Like I feel like we just scratched the
Oh
surface.
yeah, we could have a
Just
chat
scratched
as
the
often
surface.
as you want.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, so for future, what I'd love to do is to deep dive into like one topic, and we
Hmm.
deep dive, right? This
Sure.
to me felt like it needed to be more of an overall getting to know who you are and kind of what you're into a little bit.
Sure. Yeah,
So
that'd
then
be
we can
good.
deep dive. Yay.
Sounds great.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. My pleasure. All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.